It was 1 week ago today that in this city of Rome, the Council of IFAC elected its first female president. Olivia Kirtley has served 2 years as the deputy president of IFAC and has spent many, many years as a volunteer in our profession, as in fact have a lot of you in your own countries. She's a former chairman of the American Institute of CPAs and also has been chairman of their board of examiners. In her private but business life, Olivia leads a consulting practice focused on governance, risk, and strategy. If my memory serves, she is the first president to come from the group of people that we call members in business and industry. She's a corporate director and serves as a non-executive director for 2 public companies in the United States, a banking company, US Bank Corp, and Papa John's, a pizza company. I know what the board is going to eat for the next 2 years. And she's also on the board of ResCare, which is a residential care home for people who have challenges of one sort or another, physical or mental, at all ages. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your president, Olivia Kirtley. It's a great pleasure.
Well, after that last speech, that's a hard act to follow. Good afternoon. After 4 days of outstanding presentations and discussions and the opportunity to meet many of you and to visit with many of you who I have known for years, it is a great honor to stand here as the newly elected president of IFAC. Before I begin, let me express my deep appreciation to Warren Allen. Where is Warren? The 16th president of IFAC, for his outstanding leadership and tireless work over the last 2 years. We could not have asked for any greater dedication or commitment. Warren, you accomplished much, and we thank you. Warren, I just want to say that you leave very big shoes to fill. Fortunately, I wear high heels. I also want to thank all of you, almost 4,000 delegates from over 140 countries who have traveled so far to be with us. Your input, exchanges of ideas, your thoughts about future opportunities for the accountancy profession are what make Oral Congress. I hope you've learned a lot, you've been inspired with new ideas, you've networked professionally, and you've made new friends from across the globe. And for those of you who are headed with us tomorrow to the Vatican for an audience with His Holiness, Pope Francis, you undoubtedly will have another unforgettable experience here in Rome. And I will especially, since I'm going to make a few remarks and I'm required to speak in Italian. I'm practicing. We in the accountancy profession have long understood that thriving economies, prosperity, good governance, and peace are found in societies and structures that are transparent and accountable. Accountants play an essential role in society to support civil societies and enable strong and sustainable nations. The graciousness of His Holiness to invite us for an audience symbolizes the importance of our profession in the advancement and support of civil societies. One thing this Congress has reinforced for me is that the years ahead for our profession, like the years in the past, will be about how we navigate through our choices, challenges, and opportunities. I recently read Hillary Clinton's new book, Hard Choices, where she described how she thought about her choices and challenges as Secretary of State for the United States in 3 ways, and I was reflecting that we could consider our way forward in much the same way. Number 1, issues we have inherited, like recent regulatory activity and its potential unintended consequences. Number 2, new and often unexpected events and emerging threats, which could be the next corporate scandal or a financial crisis. And third, opportunities, like those presented by embracing technology and integrated thinking to create possibilities for innovation, leadership, and relevance. This Congress shined a light on the many, many choices, challenges, and opportunities that we face individually, for our national accountancy bodies, as well as IFAC and the profession. So as we prepare to return to our home countries from this World Congress, there is much to consider and quite valuable information and many different perspectives to influence our actions as we move forward. The first general session of this Congress was Business Thriving in Disruptive Times, which featured an impressive group of CFOs from British Telecom, EY, Dutch Royal Dutch Shell, and Yahoo. They discussed the choices, challenges, and opportunities that businesses will likely face, particularly the increasing pace of change. They came from a wide variety of backgrounds and brought different perspectives, but highlighted some common themes. The big trends they noted included how the world was becoming more and more global, the increasing shift from the Western economies to the emerging markets, the proliferation of huge amounts of data, and the speed of technological changes, which brings huge opportunities and risks. That growth and investments going forward will no longer be just a financial issue, but must equally consider the societal impact and how things and results are moving from the business page to the front page. The need for robust training programs and learning infrastructures, and how critical continuous learning and sharing of best practices will be. They emphasize the importance of the finance team being IT literate, but they also underscored that technology tools are an enabler, not an end, but a means. And in a similar vein, they highlighted that data is not knowledge. Rather, we need to help develop insights from the data to help decisions, to identify problems and solutions. And they talked about the fact that CFOs and professional accountants will need to listen, understand the external environment in which we work, and be the voice of reason. One of my key takeaways from the session, and something very true in my own personal experience, is the importance of being inclusive, of different backgrounds and cultures, and creating value together. They pointed out that diversity in and of itself is useless. Inclusivity is the key, embracing the variety of opinions, views, and perspectives that inclusiveness brings, and how it will enable better decisions. One phrase I also heard in this session that will certainly use going forward is future-proofing. This has to do with not taking anything for granted and being prepared for and anticipating what comes next. Right before I came on the stage, I was presented with this globe from 3D printing in the CGMA booth here at this World Congress. I would dare say this is the first time that anyone has spoken to this World Congress with a prop from 3D printing. But I have to say that the most important thing I took away from the first session was that the finance function and our accountancy profession is transitioning from the passenger navigating seat to the driver's seat. And to do this effectively, we must build our careers on deep foundations. We must engage in continuous learning by constantly reading, seeking new approaches and solutions, and keeping pace with the ever-changing business landscape. One of the ways that IFAC hopes to contribute to that challenge of continuous learning and sharing of ideas is through the new Global Knowledge Gateway, which we launched on the IFAC website earlier this year. The Gateway is an exciting platform for your use, for member bodies to also share and learn. It has a wealth of success stories, lessons learned, resource, and information. It was originally conceived for the small and medium practices and professional accountants in business to provide greater support for them. But we quickly found that the application and benefit of the Gateway to be much broader. Its benefits extends not only to the entire profession, but even beyond. This initiative is a great example of how we can address challenges, capitalize on opportunities, and make good choices in deploying our resources in the most effective and productive way. When you return home from this World Congress, please take the time to join the other 81,000 unique visitors who have already explored the Gateway. Submit a suggestion, comment on a discussion, read about different perspectives, contribute to the content, or share a best practice from your part of the world. We will all be better working together. The second general session we had was Enhancing Government Transparency and Accountability. It focused on the need for enhanced public sector reporting and financial management. You have heard that run through many themes over and above that particular session. We heard that some countries have learned lessons from the sovereign debt crisis, even if they weren't directly affected. China, for example, is working toward a more open and transparent system. For them, the crisis showed the importance of high-quality information and the need to promote accrual-based government accounting standards. And with 14 million accountants already, China has introduced policy measures to strengthen their profession. Other countries, such as New Zealand and Canada, have long been role models in the area of government accounting and transparency. It's no coincidence that both of those countries performed well during the financial crisis. But as the Assistant Minister of Finance of China so aptly put it, Rome was not built in a day. Many countries have a long journey to achieve transparency and accountability in the public sector. This is evidenced by the fact that the world is still drowning in debt. Debt to GDP in the G7 has increased from 60% to 120% since 1991. Many governments still don't understand what they owe and what they will owe later, so they aren't considering the long-term impact of political decisions. Corruption and fraud are still too easy to conceal. The bottom line is that it all comes down to the numbers and disclosures that are complete, comprehensive, reliable, and up-to-date. Governments must be held accountable, the same way companies are held accountable, and politicians need rules that incentivize good behavior. Good accounting by itself will not solve problems, but it will enable good decision-making. And any good decision-making is essential for economic stability and growth. As one speaker so aptly put it, accrual accounting is about telling the truth. As I said earlier, Rome wasn't built in a day, but we believe that we must be relentless and committed to building a more accountable and transparent world over the long term. For a long time now, IFAC has led the charge of calling for governments to get their numbers right. We believe that this is the #1 public interest issue for the profession. Under Fayez's leadership, IFAC has launched an initiative called Accountability Now. This is a campaign, not a project. Along with a wide range of stakeholders, we will intensify our efforts to promote awareness at the global and regional levels and help governments to move beyond commitment to implementation. Of course, in order to successfully implement, governments must have adequate technical skills. IFAC has long been involved in PAO development and the development of the profession to benefit both the public sector and the private sector. Let me pause here and tell you a story. It's a true story, and it's an extremely inspiring story. At the end of Rwanda's civil war, in which vast numbers of educated middle-class people were simply wiped out, the World Bank estimates that in 2008, there were only 45 accountants left in the country. This tiny number of accountants had no professional accountancy organization to support them. It was a non-existent profession in a country that itself was barely surviving. And with no accountants to provide assurance on the financials of any organization, it was almost impossible for Rwanda to attract much-needed foreign direct investment. Fast forward just 8 years. This year, those 45 have become 285 registered accountants. And they are now supported by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Rwanda. As this professional body has grown in Rwanda today, there is a government committed to the development of the profession, there is a rule of law, there is peace, and there is growing prosperity fueled by growth rates that are among the best in Africa and far ahead of the developed world. I'm particularly proud of IFAC's work and that of our friends at the Institute of Certified Public Accountants in Kenya, which was the sponsoring body of the Rwanda Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, Rwanda's profession has only really gotten back on its feet. It's making great progress, but of course it still has a journey ahead of it. I was delighted when the Rwanda Institute was admitted to IFAC in 2012 as an associate member. If there's anyone here from Rwanda, would you please stand so we can recognize you? And please recognize that highlighting Rwanda is just one of the success stories in the capacity building area. But while we're talking about the region, it's worth noting the mutual recognition agreement between the national PAOs of the East African community. Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda have created a regional platform for professional knowledge exchange and support. To advance our capacity, To advance IFAC's capacity building success, we have signed a historic memorandum of understanding with key groups in the international donor community. This agreement is referred to as MOSAIC, an acronym for Memorandum of Understanding for Strengthening Accountancy and Increasing Cooperation. Out of this agreement, we built and just launched at this World Congress the MOSAIC website, which will provide a so-called marketplace to match the development needs identified by national professional accountancy organizations with the funding interest of potential donors. Also out of this agreement, IFAC was granted almost £5 million by the United Kingdom's Department for International Development to support the establishment of professional accountancy organizations in 10 developing and fragile states over 7 years. I want to sincerely thank Her Majesty's government and the Secretary of State for International Development, Justine Greening, who herself is a professional accountant, for supporting this groundbreaking work. This is game-changing. And I want to acknowledge IFAC's member bodies in the UK for making DFID aware of the importance of the profession in developing countries. And now, I am delighted to announce the first 3 countries to be supported by this grant. They are Ghana, Rwanda, and Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, Accountability Now and PAO development are exciting initiatives. My challenge to you is to join us, encourage your governments to embark on the journey toward accrual-based accounting and budgeting. Start a proper debate, call on your finance minister, raise awareness, build a coalition, and help strengthen your PAO or regional PAO organization by volunteering, or get involved with another PAO that needs your support through mentoring, twinning, or other capacity building programs. This is worthy work to do. Together, we can advance the cause of good accounting, transparency and accountability, good decision-making, and economic growth and stability. The final general session, which took place just a couple of hours ago on integrated thinking, we heard exciting developments from companies that are implementing integrated thinking and reporting to create sustainable value and drive performance. This is very much a strategic issue going forward. We heard how society's expectations of corporations and their actions have changed. This has led to organizations needing to respond to a wider set of risks, such as water scarcity and climate change. In addition, intangibles such as relationships, intellectual and human capital make up an increasing proportion of a company's value. And they also determine their ability to create value in the future. In response, organizations need to become more transparent and rethink their approach to reporting so that it's more useful to stakeholders and the companies themselves. They need to present a picture of total value creation, and they need to provide a more accurate reflection of the impact they're having on society, including communities, suppliers, governments, and employees. But they also need to change their thinking and their behavior. They need to consider their resources, their relationships, their risk, and their opportunities in strategy and daily management. An example that really brought this home during the presentation was given by Goldfield's CEO, Nick Holland, where we saw that 6 of the top 10 risks on their risk register were non-financial risk or soft issues. Integrated reporting and integrated thinking is a prerequisite for good corporate governance, and connecting financial and non-financial information leads to more effective performance and management. As the panel told us, to be successful and sustainable, integrated thinking has to become part of a company's DNA to help reshape thinking and relationships. IFAC has long supported the International Integrated Reporting Council, and in September we signed a memorandum of understanding to support the adoption of the IR framework, which was launched last year. This is the future of corporate management and reporting, and the accounting profession has a primary role to play. Your leadership in this area is going to be vital in taking the message to your countries. I challenge you to be an active participant in advancing the IR framework, explaining how business strategy, governance, performance management, and sustainability are all linked. The groundswell for integrated reporting and integrated thinking is rising quickly. It is time to get on the train. Ladies and gentlemen, as we move forward over the coming years, some things we do may make headlines, but most of the things we will do will be more about shaping trend lines that will impact our world for future generations. As Goethe once said, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. We must not only consider what we have learned here this week and have good intentions, we must also be intentional and take action. Over the past several days, there were 34 sessions and over 200 speakers. We heard valuable information, different perspectives. There's much to consider. I urge you to take this experience home with you, to participate, get involved, and take action. Our choices and challenges and how we handle them will help shape the people we become and the profession we lead. Individually, we may be ordinary people, but together we can accomplish extraordinary things. Thank you.